So I haven't talked about Tryp in a good long while, and well, there's been a lot of reasons why, mainly because there has not been a whole lot of news on that front. Also, there's that whole channel direction shift where I want to do more than just rideshare. However, this update is rather important. It's actually a little bit more personal for me than most of these Tryp stories are. And I obviously wanted to discuss this with all of you. But first of all, hey everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur. If this is your first time here and videos like these are of great interest to you, please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell notification because this is probably not the only time we're going to be talking about this one. So I am on the Facebook page of Taha Abbasi. Some of you may remember him. He is the CEO of Tryp, and he actually was on my channel, and we discussed Tryp quite a bit. And here's the thing: while I still had some concerns about Tryp as a company, I have always maintained I hope it all works out. Drivers do need a viable third option. Tryp sounded ambitious, if nothing else. It didn't sound realistic, and I've always been upfront about that. But I'm not here to muck up anyone's yum or yuck up your yum, whatever the heck that phrase is. And, well, here's the thing. I didn't see a whole lot of progress with Tryp, and I've always been a little suspicious, but I don't know what I've been suspicious about. Because here's the thing. To my knowledge, so far, they have not actually taken anyone's money. To my knowledge. They at least no driver's money. So yeah, the service gets delayed and delayed and delayed, but whatever. Well, Taha was one of the people that, when I interviewed, I felt a lot better about Tryp. Not enough to say, oh yeah, go out, sign up for it, you're doing great, but enough to say, like, well, look, there's good people behind this, so, maybe things will work out. And that's when I was notified of Taha's Facebook post. And you might be noticing something right there. It's been there the whole time. Left job at Tryp Rides. Posted today. So I'm going to read this word by word. Then, of course, we're going to talk about it. And he writes, "It has been a heck of a journey over the last 10 months. The excitement I felt when I joined Tryp Rides on March 1st, 2019 is now replaced with sadness and a feeling of loss. We all know that drivers all around the country and world are suffering from abuse, lack of oversight, and misrepresentation. Riders are also suffering as a result of this negligence. I joined Tryp Rides because I believed that Tryp Rides was a company dedicated to solving these issues. Over the last 332 days, I have met thousands of drivers around the country. I have shaken hands with individuals who would say, thank you for giving us another option. We have been waiting for this. However, it saddens me to share that despite tremendous effort to resolve issues, I had to decide to step away from Tryp Rides as the CTO effective yesterday. I have critical disagreements and irreconcilable differences in the management approach and practice at Tryp Rides. There is a misalignment of ethical and moral values, specifically concerning claims and expectations set. I operate in a very transparent manner and value communication and openness over secrecy and closed room talks. The problem for drivers and riders is a difficult yet worthy problem to solve. One of the reasons drivers keep getting taken advantage of is due to the failed promises made to them by the largest ride-sharing companies in the market today. When I joined Tryp Rides, I believed it would be different here. I believe if a company is going to solve this problem in the rideshare industry, then the company's actions and the actions of its leadership should be in line with the vision or ethos it shares with the drivers. I cannot stand behind and support any company that doesn't align with my core values and what I believe are core values for the community it intends to serve. I wish Tryp Rides the best of luck. I hope that the necessary adjustments are made and drivers are given a fair chance. That is a fairly sombering little goodbye post if ever I read one. Now, we're going to discuss certain things that stand out to me. And keep in mind, when I'm reading this, I don't know anything about what transpired that got Taha to leave Tryp. I have reached out to him, and I hope to have another interview, a follow-up interview, if you will, and hopefully we can discuss this in more detail. But I do want to kind of go over this and share some of my initial thoughts. First of all, this line right here, the excitement I felt when I joined Tryp Rides on March 1st, 2019 is now replaced with sadness and a feeling of loss. Interestingly, I hear a lot of drivers feel the same way. Drivers who have emailed me saying that they really want Tryp to launch. They hope it's the next big thing. They're frustrated that it's not launched yet. They're frustrated by being strung along. Like, where is the app? Where are the customers? When is this going to be functional? And they feel sad that it hasn't panned out. So while I don't know exactly what this is referring to, apparently the feeling isn't exclusive to just potential drivers. So I do like how he points out that when drivers suffer, riders suffer as a result of negligence. Because when Uber and Lyft started, the drivers were of higher quality, the cars were better, they got better service, and that does not happen anymore. The riders get a raw deal, but of course they get what they paid for. So he speaks highly about all the people who are excited about Tryp Rides, hoping for a third option. I'm one of the people who wanted a third option. I was always skeptical of Tryp, but I know people, some of whom you might know too, who were very much looking forward to Tryp actually becoming a thing because they wanted this option. And here's where it starts getting really strange. Because he decided to step away from Tryp Rides as a CTO effective yesterday. His wording is deliberate and careful, I believe. I have critical disagreements and irreconcilable differences, certain words, in the management approach in practice at Tryp Rides. There is a misalignment of ethical and moral values, especially concerning claims and expectations set. Now, I don't know what the ethical and moral values are that he's referring to, although I will say that the expectation set, from my perspective, Tryp set some pretty lofty expectations early on, not the least of which we're going to launch in a couple weeks, has now turned into 8 months later. So I do believe that Tryp has been stringing people along in that regard. I don't know if that is what Taha is referring to right now, but at least from what I've witnessed, that would match up, but it might not be what he's referring to. This is just speculation, of course. He adds that he likes to operate in a very transparent manner and value communication openness over secrecy and closed room talks. This is probably the thing about Tryp that I was most impressed with, that they actually got us in the room, that they spoke to us, that they addressed our concerns, that he would take his time to not only talk to me, but to talk to Mark, and basically anyone who would talk to him, and it was not combative. I felt he really believed in this company, and he believed in what he was doing. So I can actually even feel the sadness coming from this post, that he's frustrated that it didn't work out. I do like that he continues to say the problems for drivers and riders is a difficult yet worthy problem to solve. But here's what's really concerning. He said one of the reasons drivers keep getting taken advantage of is due to the failed promises made to them by the largest ride-sharing companies in the market today. He ends this paragraph by saying, "When I joined Tryp Rides, I believed it would be different here." That is a very concerning sentence, because you know what? I want to give Tryp the benefit of the doubt. I honestly believed, I believe that they wanted, at the very least. I don't know if they intended, but there are people there who wanted Tryp Rides to be this great thing for drivers and riders. The fact, I don't know what he's referring to specifically, of course, but keep in mind, he wrote this sentence in reference to the fact that drivers are being taken advantage of by the biggest rideshare companies in the world. And after making that example, he writes, when I joined Tryp Rides, I believed it would be different here. That's a very concerning line. That is a very, very concerning line. So he continues, I believe if a company is going to solve this problem in the rideshare industry, then the company's actions and the actions of its leadership should be in line with the vision or ethos it shares with its drivers. This is, I think, probably the most, at least from a higher up, the most blatant pro-driver stance I've ever read. That someone basically being like the problems and the struggles of the drivers are the company's problems and burdens, and the driver's success is the company's success. However, he suggests that the company is not interested in solving this. This is just what I'm taking from it by reading between the lines. I don't know exactly what this means. Again, this is very concerning stuff. And this is a personal thing. I'm not even going to attempt to figure out what he means by this. But he writes, I cannot stand behind and support any company that doesn't align with my core values and what I believe are core values for the community it intends to serve. I don't know what he means by that. Not even going to attempt to guess. But, like me, he wishes Tryps the best of luck, and he hopes that the necessary adjustments are made and drivers are given a fair share. I noticed that he mentioned drivers several times in this post, which leads me to be very cautious about labeling Tryp as a driver-friendly alternative to Uber and Lyft, because it doesn't really sound like the drivers are going to be getting a good deal after all, at least from what I'm reading here. I could be wrong. Things could still change. Tryp is not officially a launched product yet. It's not. But this is very concerning. I will be reaching out to Taha. Hopefully he will agree to an interview, a follow-up interview. We can talk about this a little bit more. And after I get his side of the story, if someone from Tryp wants to respond to that, because I'm all about getting both sides of the story, then we will do that. For the time being, though, if you want my official stance on whether or not you should be signing up for Tryp, no, don't do it. This is a huge, huge red flag, and this is very concerning. And again, admittedly I'm biased. I like Taha. He seemed like a very honorable guy when we spoke. And hey, thanks to him, I discovered Zoom, which is what has enabled us to continue like the podcast and stuff. So he gave me some good advice. And maybe Taha's wrong. You never know. That's why I want to get everyone's side of opinion. But since I have dealt with him, and since he does strike me as an honest and honorable man, I have no choice but to believe that there's something fishy going on here. And as a result, I recommend not getting involved in Tryp rides. At least not until you do more research, and I will do what I can because this is very concerning. I don't know what the moral and ethical problems are, but apparently it's going to involve the drivers, and I would like to find out more about that if possible. So we're going to end it there. I'd like all of you to kind of share what your thoughts on this are. In fact, if you are a big Tryp supporter, what does this say to you? Like, does this change your opinion on Tryp at all? And if it doesn't change your position on Tryp, I would like to know why and why you think that's the case. And you can do so in the comments below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.